there's a sense of, we're all longing for kind of a sense of orientation and clarity. And so I think there is a tendency maybe to latch onto that one thing that's happening. If it were the case, oh, this is actually just Musk doing his thing, right? This is just Musk. This is the same playbook that he sort of applied at Twitter when he took over Twitter. And I think that gives people kind of a sense of security almost, to say, oh, I know the playbook. We saw this at Twitter, and so we know what's happening. It's just Musk, and forget everything else. So I understand that sort of that longing for a bit of clarity and orientation, but I think we need to resist that right now. You see this also, by the way, with a kind of a sort of a latching onto the idea that maybe it's just Orban in Hungary. Maybe this is just exactly like Orban in Hungary. And that is the playbook. And that, again, it gives you a sense of, oh, I know what's happening. I'm not confused. I got it, right? So I think we need to kind of really we should not allow ourselves to just think this is that one thing, forget everything else. Like, if you just look at Orban, for instance, I'm not saying it's not worth studying Orbanism, Orban is a very sort of popular figure on the American right, but Orban's sort of authoritarian kind of takeover of Hungary was, the playbook there was what people call autocratic legalism. So it worked very much within the confines of the legal system and within sort of the confines of the constitution. And now you look at what's happening here. That's just not the case. I mean, the Trumpists are just all in on like blatantly, aggressively illegal, unconstitutional measures. And Orban didn't do that. And also Orban didn't just give free rein to like a CEO king, feudal tech baron, right, to just go ham on the system. So it's different, and we need to kind of see that. Now with Musk, I think to me the best way to make sense of what's happening right now is to kind of grapple with the fact that the assault on the Constitution and on democratic sort of government and on the civil rights order is coming from different MAGA factions all at the same time, from at least sort of 4 different angles. There is sort of the Project 20, broadly speaking, that sort of reactionary elites and Christian nationalists who have kind of mostly aligned themselves with that sort of heritage-led planning operation. That's Project 2025. And that plays a big role, definitely, 100%, right? But then there is also sort of the America First nativists, the Stephen Miller, Steve Bannon kind of wing of the MAGA coalition, who are in many ways aligned with Project 2025, but they have their own institutions. They're also ideologically slightly sort of coming from a slightly different bend. And they are behind the kind of the super aggressive push for like mass deportation, ending birthright citizenship, that sort of thing, right? So that's the second angle. The third angle is the kind of the tech right. The Silicon Valley, the feudal tech barons, the tech broligarchy, right? And Musk is obviously the key figure from that. And again, yes, of course, they are aligned in many ways with the other factions, but they are also distinct factions. And there are tensions there. I mean, people will remember, I hope, that just a few weeks ago, we had what was dubbed as kind of the MAGA civil war between kind of the MAGA nativists, the sort of Steve Bannon wing, and the tech broligarchs. Because, I mean, the fight was over, people will remember, the fight was over work visas, right? Because the MAGA nativists don't want work visas because work visas bring in brown people, and MAGA nativists are like, we don't want brown people in the country. It's like just like white, they're flat outs of white nationalism, right? But then the Musk people, the Musk wing of the MAGA coalition, they do want work visas because that's cheap labor for them, right? And they don't care if that brings in a few brown people for a little while because, I mean, they're not, let's be clear, they are very racist, the tech broligarchs, but they think, you know, it's still good for them to bring in cheap labor for their sort of financial and business interests. And so there's some real tension there, right? They're not all the same, right? So that's the third faction. And then there's Trump, who's like a fourth kind of Trump and his sort of weird idiosyncrasies with his sort of weird thirst for a kind of politics of domination, both on the domestic level and then also on the international level. And I think one of the key questions going into this for anyone paying attention to the right was, okay, so these different factions, how are they going to function once they take power? Who is going to be in the driver's seat? Who's going to have to take a step back, right? Who's going to get everything they want and who is going to not get everything they want? Because there are tensions. And now what's happened, and that is to me a little bit surprising, is that no one has taken a step back and they've been given the green light to go just berserk on the system all at the same time, right? So they're basically all given the green light to just go all in. And I think that leads to something that I would describe as chaotic but comprehensive, right? It's a bit chaotic because, I mean, again, there's some pretty good reporting that clearly indicates that there is not a lot of coordination between what Musk is doing right now and what Trump is doing like from the White House. Like they don't talk to each other a lot. Like there's not a lot of coordination. Musk is just going ahead, right? Bringing in his own people, like these like tech goon boys, like these Musk disciples, young men, 19 to 25, just bringing them in, and they're going ham on these agencies. They're taking them, like they're literally occupying these agencies. And yes, that does align with, to some extent, it does align with the broader sort of let's take over government and dismantle the parts of government we don't like and weaponize other parts of the government that we do like as a kind of tool, right? Yes, it does align with this to some extent, but it's still Musk to some extent doing his own thing. And that is what is striking right now. All of these different MAGA factions have all been given the green light at the same time. And I think that explains some of the speed and the radicalism that we've seen, the dynamic that we've seen, this sort of destructive potential that is being unleashed. I think that's coming from the fact that rather than just enacting one master plan, just quote unquote, just Project 2025, they're doing Project 2025, but they're also doing sort of the tech feudal baron fever dream. And they're also doing Stephen Miller's fever dream. They're doing it all at the same time, right? And I think that is where a lot of that dynamism and destructive potential is coming from right now.